Oh, we're going to talk about ellipses today. A circle is a kind of ellipse. We'll talk about that in just a second. The two warm-ups I have this morning are review from the quiz, 2 questions that did not go well, okay? Or one that didn't go well and one that's... This completing the square with a parabola didn't go well at all, okay? Very few people got this one right. I don't know what number it was on the quiz, but number 5? Okay. What you want to do, guys, is you want to isolate the squared terms. Now, the one I put up here has y's, not x's that are squared, okay? So we're going to move the 141 over to the other side. And then what do we want to do with those 2 y terms? Yes, take out a 3. Good job. That'll leave y squared plus 14y plus blank. All right. Then we want to add, we want to rewrite this, bring down the 3, rewrite this parenthesis as a quantity squared, which would become what? Okay, half of that would be plus 7, which means that's supposed to be a 7. This is a 49. But we put what there? 3 49s, right? So what we add over here has to be 3 49s, which will become x plus, let's see, 49 times 3, 4, 7, 6 maybe? Anybody helping me? Negative 149, 1 yes. Plus, okay, thanks. This is not quite the form that's on the reference sheet. Anybody know what's wrong with it? On the reference sheet, it says 4p x minus h equals y minus k. The 4p is on the side without the squared, right? Okay, I might have them backwards, but the 4p is on the side without the squared. So what do we need to do with this guy? Yeah, we need to divide it over to this side, so it will be 1/3 x plus 6 equals y plus 7 quantity squared. I don't know, on the quiz, did I then make you find some more stuff about that question? Okay, on the next quiz, I just asked you to complete the square and get it in that form, because otherwise I'm like killing you, right? You just have more options to get stuff wrong if you mess this up. So I'm just leaving it with that. All right, one more question on parabolas for today's warm-ups. If this is the vertex and this is the focus, which way does this open? Up and down, yes? Because this is H, this is K, this is H, and what does it say for focus when it's not plain old K? K plus P. All right, some of you are totally lost what to do. Right here, this means negative 25/4 equals K plus P. But what do we already know? K is negative 6. So to find P, I add 6. Anybody know what that is? Negative 25 divided by 4 plus 24th. Yes? No, 6 would be 24/4. Woo. So it's negative 1/4? Yeah, use a calculator because my brain doesn't work. Okay. Then when we go to write the equation, some of you got that far and then you wrote the wrong one. The one at the top of the sheet says x minus h, for one that opens this way, 4p, 4p, 4p. This is p, so 4p is... what is that? Y minus k. Okay? From the number of people who turned in the completed parabola assignments, I wasn't too surprised how that went, okay? I got homework checks from quite a few of you. They had the pink sheet, some of them had the circles done. Very few people, not none, but very few, had the parabola assignments done. All right, today we're going to talk about ellipses. We're going to have to be able to graph them and find the center, foci, and vertices, which it calls vertices and co-vertices. Okay, I can complete the square to find the standard conic form, and I can write an equation given center, vertices, foci. Eventually, you're going to have to write an equation given length of major minor axes or endpoints of major and minor axes. All right, what is an ellipse? An ellipse is an oval. Okay, I'm going to pause the video for a second and do a little demonstration on the board here. So we did this thing with the string, and we realized that those two focal points are important if we were trying to draw one with a string, okay? That's where the focus comes into play. But for our purposes, we're going to have a center, and then we're going to have a number that tells us how far to go out this way, either way, and how far to go up and down either way. This, if it's longer this way, that's called the major axis. Make sense? The longer one? Okay? It's from one end to the other, is the whole major axis. Up and down on this one is a minor axis, but it seems clear that if it looks like this, this would be the major axis and this would be the minor axis, right? Okay, what's going to happen is it's going to have an x squared and a y squared. Probably not, it's going to be like x minus 3 squared and y plus 2 squared or something. What would make one go this way shorter is if the number under here, that makes sense? This one is going to go up and down 6. Anybody know where that came from? Square root of that number. And it's going to go across 2, the square root of that number. All right? So here's the general form. Now, I need to point this out too because it's really important when we do hyperbolas. In this form, and I wrote it on here, it says A is always the bigger number. Do you see where I wrote it on the green sheet for you? A has to do with the major axis, yes. Okay? A is the bigger number because that's not going to be true when we do hyperbolas. A is not the bigger number necessarily on hyperbolas. So I wrote you a little note so you'd keep that straight, okay? It's right on the reference sheet. Everybody see there? If you flip it over on the back, it says A is always the one underneath the positive term for a hyperbola. It's not necessarily the bigger number. All right. Then it talks about how to find the foci, the vertices. The co-vertices are the ends of the minor axis. That makes sense? All right. Equation of a major and minor axis, which I'm not going to ask you about. The foci has to do with C. And C comes from this. That's related to Pythagorean theorem, but it's not Pythagorean theorem, right? Because it's not a squared plus b squared. This is how I keep it straight. When it's a plus here, it's a minus here. When we do hyperbolas later, they're going to have a minus up here and a plus down here. Okay, it's the opposite. So rather than spend time looking at this crazy slide, let's try some of these, okay? So what can you tell me about my example right up here? It's already done on your paper, so just look up here and help me. Can you tell? It's already in the wrong order, right? But that just means this is y minus k and this is x minus h. So h is what? -2, k is +1, okay? A is 5, because that's a squared. B is 3. Except for finding the foci, we're like done. How do you plot that? The vertex is -2, 1. So I go -2, 1. Okay. And now A tells me 5 units, but it was underneath which one? The Y. So I'm going to go 5 up and down because it was under the Y's. Everybody go to that? Now that's conceptually. Conceptually, I went 5 units up and down. Those are called the vertices. If you look on your sheet, it says you take the H and then you do the K plus or minus the A. Is that what it says? For one that goes up and down, for the vertices, it says H comma K plus or minus A, right? I just did it conceptually. So this was -2, 6, and this guy down here was -2, -4. Okay. How far am I going out either way, left and right? 3. And what number is that going to change? Yeah, it's going to change the x. So it's going to be -2 plus or minus 3, and then the 1 is going to stay from the vertex. So that's H plus or minus B comma K. So if I go 3 this way, where am I at? -5, 1. And if I went 3 this way, I'm at 1, 1, right? -2 minus 3 is -5 plus, okay. There's my ellipse. The only other thing I need, yeah, it's very nicely symmetric. The only other thing that I'm going to ask you to tell me is the foci, okay? The foci are always on the major axis. Does that make sense? Okay. The foci are on the major axis. So starting at this vertex, we're going to go out C on the major axis, which is which way? The Y, up and down. So we're going to add plus or minus C right there. Is that what it says? On your sheet, there it is. H comma K plus or minus C, right? Okay, we got to find C. How do we find C? You take these two bottom numbers, which are already A squared and B squared, yes? And you subtract, because it said plus in the middle here, so we're going to subtract 25 minus 9. That's A squared minus B squared already. We didn't need to square them, they're already squared. And we get 16, so C is 4. So when we add plus or minus 4 here, we end up at -2, 5, and -2, -3. -2, 5, and -3. It's just 1 unit inside. Okay. Sometimes the foci are really close to the edges. Sometimes they're further in. Usually they're not too far in. Ready to try this? Okay. That was the only thing I didn't have here. What did we just write down on that last slide? -2, 5, and -2, -3. Did I remember right? Okay. And we found that because C squared was 25 minus 9, so C was 4. Just so you remember how we got that. Okay. Here we go. Oh, easy peasy. We used to do a whole day of these. That's kind of boring. Where's the center? 0, 0. And then what? A squared, yeah. A squared is 16, A is 4. That's supposed to be an A. And B is 3. But which way do we go? That's the important part. It's under the Y, so we go up and down 4. Oh, great. We got wacky graph paper again, right? And left and right 3. That one looks almost like a circle, especially on this graph paper. So the center was 0, 0. The vertices are which ones, guys? versus co-vertices. Vertices are the longer ones out, so they would be at 0 and plus or minus 4. I'm not going to bother to write it twice. The co-vertices are at plus or minus 3, 0, right? We went out 3 that way. The foci, okay, we need C. C squared equals A squared minus B squared, which would be square root of 7. If you get a radical, did I do that right? Okay. If we get a radical, just leave it. You can approximate it on the graph if you want, but I'm fine with you just leaving it a radical in the answer over here. And you don't have to write it out twice. But tell me, what am I adding it onto? I'm adding it onto the center. In which direction? Up and down. So the answer is 0, 0 plus or minus square root of 7 because it went up and down. All right. That one was centered at the origin, so it's pretty easy. If you do square root of 7, it's 2 point something. Okay. It's actually pretty far in because remember we're counting by 2's here. But this one was pretty circular, right? All right. And I don't care about the graph. I'm more concerned you just write it down. All right. Bree, can you tell me something? Sam Procopio, tell me something. Melanie. Okay. And Michael? Okay. Everybody tell me C right away? Well, C squared would equal what? 64 minus 25. And remember, if those were listed backwards, you would still do the bigger one minus the smaller one, right? Because A is from the bigger one. 39 maybe? How'd I do? Square root of 39? Okay. Everything else is a recipe, right? I hate using recipes, even when I cook. So I'm going to kind of fake it over here by doing it conceptually, but everybody who likes recipes could just follow the recipe now, right? We found everything. All right. The center was at -5, -2. Hate this graph paper. -5, -2. Okay. Then I need to go in the x direction 8. So that would be -5 plus or minus 8. So the vertices are going to be at 3, -2 and -13, -2. Is anybody getting that? Are they doing it on their own? -10, -12, -13, -2. Huh? Does this fit? Oh yeah, it does. 3, -2. There we go. Okay, it fits. The co-vertices are added, the B value added onto the Y, right? So it's -5, -2 plus or minus 5, which would be -7 and 3. -5, -7, -5, +3. Anybody's looking like that? You guys are ahead of me? Okay. Good morning, Fatih. I'm okay. Foci are which way? Up and down or left and right from that center? They're on the major axis, so they're left and right. So it's -5 plus or minus the square root of 39 because it's left and right. Okay. I didn't follow the recipe. Do you need me to go back through and follow the recipe? It's all on there, right? And I don't really care. When you graph it, I'm okay if you don't put the foci on the graph, okay? If it's a nice number, fine, but I don't want to deal with that. Okay. How many we got here? 3, 4. Let's do 4. Let's skip 3 and do 4. Okay. Can you work on 4 on your own for a minute? Ian, maybe you can help Fatih get a little bit caught up. Mm-hmm. Say that again. That's a good question. I think to get them all in this form, they make them equal to 1 so that they're all the same. That's a good question. I'll look that up and see if I can get a better answer, okay? This one very similar to, okay. But does it goes further up and down though, right? Okay, that was my big thing, was I wanted to make sure we did one going the other way. I don't ever give this kind of graph paper on a quiz either, just. It's all the same numbers, okay. So for the center, it says write down HK, right? I'm just going to do it recipe this time. For the vertices, it says write down H and then K plus A and then H, K minus, what did I do? I didn't add that right. That was supposed to be K plus A, which would be 5. And then H and K minus A. -3 minus 8 would be -11. Somebody check me, please. And then it says H plus B, which would be 2 plus 5. H minus B, 2 minus 5. Keep the K. And then it says for foci, H stays, and it's K plus or minus C. If that works. If I go over here to -3, I was supposed to go up 8. Does that look like 2, 5? Seems okay. Supposed to go down 8. 6, 8. That -11. And then I was supposed to go out 5 each way. Which is 7, -3, and -3, -3. That all seems good. Any questions? Can anybody type for me real fast? -3 plus the square root of 39. 3.2. So over 2 and up. How much did you say? 3.23, 3.2. Okay. So just give you an idea. The other foci would be down here, same distance in. -1.9. Thank you. Questions? All right. We can go back and do the other one if we have time. But guess what we need to do a whole bunch of time today? Completing the square. Completing the square. Completing the square. Okay. Here we go. We're going to do separate the x's, y's, and put the constant on the left. So for a minute, I'm just going to write 4x squared plus 24x. I think this one's done, so if you just want to watch, you can. Plus 9y squared minus 36y equals negative 36, okay? All I did is move the x's together and the y's together. Does that seem to make sense? Then I'm going to factor out the leading coefficient. So I'm going to have x squared plus what? 6x. And I'm going to put in a blank. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the y's. What am I going to take out? A 9. So I have y squared minus 4y plus blank equals. Now, over here, there was a negative 36. Be careful. That came from here, right, guys? And then we're going to add a red blank, which is going to have a 4 multiplied. And we're going to add a blue blank, which is going to have a 9. Kendra, are you watching this? Because completing the square was... Okay, what are we getting here? Got to keep the 4. This is 3 squared, so this is a 9. So 4 times 9 is 36. Okay. We bring down the 9. Y minus 2, because that's half of 4. We squared is 4. 9 times 4. We're adding over here another 36, which comes out 36. And then if it was a circle, we'd be done, but it's not a circle because we have these coefficients we have to get rid of. When it's not a circle, we have to divide, so like Blurta said, it has to equal what in the end? 1. So what are we going to divide by? Got to make this side 1, right? So we're going to divide everything by 36. Now, 4 goes into 36 9 times. This 9 is going to reduce into 36 to be a 4. Okay? Now, it does say identify the conic. Eventually, we're going to have parabolas, circles, ellipses, and hyperbolas. How do I know that this is an ellipse? Okay? Because it had coefficients out here, which meant it wasn't a circle, right? And because it's a plus in the middle, we're going to learn in a couple days hyperbola is a minus in the middle there, okay? And both were squared, yes? X squared and y squared. So it's very similar to a circle. It's just that the underneath here aren't the same. All right, so ready to try one? This is all separated for us. All we need is some blanks, isn't it? So I'm going to write y squared plus 2y plus blank plus, what do I want to do with these x's though? Take out a 6, factor out, yeah, don't divide it away, but factor out. So it'll become minus 4x plus blank, 5 plus 2 blanks. Okay. First one, anybody? Y plus 1, quantity squared, and this blank is a 1. Does it get multiplied by anything? No. But back here, I got this 6 I got to bring down, so this is x minus 2 squared, which is 4, and 6 times 4 is 24. What does this side all add up to? 30, okay? Because there's a coefficient here, it's not a circle. So I have to divide everything by I have y plus 1 quantity squared over 30 plus, what would this 6 goes into 30? Reduces to a 5. Okay. That would be really ugly to graph, right? Because you'd have like your a and b are square root of 5 and square root of 30. But at least we're done. Could I write that differently and it would be equivalent? Could I move these guys to the front? Okay, doesn't matter. Because it's plus, you can do any order you want. Is there another one on here? Ooh, 3 more. Oh, number 7 is... What's wrong with 7? Okay, on number 7, yeah, there's no y squared. There's no x squared. Yeah, thanks. I don't speak English well. See, I kind of want to move everything over to the other side that doesn't have a squared, but we can leave it. Let's just take, what do you want to do? If we take a 4 out of those, what will we have? We don't have to complete a square there, right? Right. What about over here? Y squared plus 4y plus blank. Some of you need that step, some of you don't. Y plus 2 quantity squared is a 4? Yeah, I don't think this was a good plan. What is this mess? My factoring out this wasn't a good plan. Because we need to move all that over here, right? Yeah, I wasn't thinking. I was trying to think what you guys would do. Let's leave this 4x minus 8. Because what do we need to do now? What? Yep, we can add the 8 to the other side, and we got to move the 4x over there, right? Because the form we're looking for, guys, is y minus k quantity squared equals 4p x minus h, right? Okay, so if I subtract a 4x and add an 8 over here, what will I have? Y plus 2 squared equals a negative 4x plus a 12. Then what? Take out a negative 4. Which is x minus 3, right? So the vertex is at 3, negative 2. Yes. Sure can, thanks. Where'd I lose you? I just subtracted 4x and added 8 to get this off this side. That would have been my first. As soon as I noticed there wasn't a squared, I would have known it was a parabola, and I would have moved all that over to the other side right away. Okay? So you would have had y squared plus 4y equals negative 4x plus 8 plus blank. I would have done it that way, and that's the way I should have showed you from the beginning. Oh, it is. Yeah, you got to be able to complete this square, any kind. All right, should we do one more? What do you want to do? What? 8? I don't have an 8. What does 8 say? 4x squared plus 8x equals 0? Okay. So 4x squared plus what? 2x plus blank. All right. Then the y's, I'll take out a 5 and get what? Y squared minus 6y plus blank equals, don't make an easy mistake. Sometimes somebody puts a negative 11 over there. To move it over, we got to add 11, right? All right, now what? X plus 1, quantity squared, puts this as a 1, but when I add it to the other side, because that 4 was still out there, I have 4 times 1. And some people just write it as 4 times 1, so they remind themselves where it came from, but I don't care. Plus, bring down the 5, y minus half of -6 is -3, squared is a 9, so I'm adding 5 times 9 over here. Okay, somebody type in. 4 times 1 is 4, 45, 11, 60. Okay, so then what? Divide everything by 60. Now be careful. What happens? X plus 1 quantity squared. 4 goes into 60 15 times, so it reduces. 5 goes into 60 12 times. We get a 1. Okay, would this be longer up and down or across if I were graphing it? Across. But it's almost circular, right? Because A and B are very close. What would C be? Square root of 3. All right, I got a couple minutes, so I'm going to go back and do one more graphing one just because I feel like we didn't do quite enough of those maybe for some people. The center here would be at -2, -1. That's H and K. A would be 5, B would be 3, and C would be the square root of 25 minus 9, which is square root of 16 or 4. So -2, -1 is down here. 5 units, which way? Go 5. X, so it's sideways. So those vertices are at 3, -1, and -7, -1, I think. And then the co-vertices, I'm adding 3 onto -1 up and down. So I get 3, 2, and 3, -4. What? What did I just do? Okay, let me try that again. I'm going up and down, so it's -2 stays the same. -4 and -2, +2. Is that better? -2, -4, and -2, +2. That seems better. And the foci are on the X, so -2 plus or minus. Okay, and don't leave things with whole numbers like that. Write them out, okay? So that should be written out as -6, -1, and +2, -1. If it's radical, you can leave it.